Hi, and welcome to the End of Life Journey and Beyond, the Sands of Time. My name is Lisa Strahs-Lorenc. I'm a bereavement specialist. Hello, Susan. Good to see you today.
Hello, Lisa. Good to see you too. I'm Susan Capurso, End of Life Doula and Legacy Specialist. And I help people at the end of their life, before, during, and after end of life. And that's something Lisa and I teach about on this channel. And we're very proud to be here and welcome for joining us today. So we have a really special guest today. And Lisa, I'd like you to introduce Marc. Hi, Marc, and thank you for being
Hello,
here.
good afternoon, Susan.
Hi.
Hello, Lisa.
Hi, Marc. Welcome.
Thank
Good to
you.
have you here. So our guest today is Marc Berlin, and he is from Long Island, New York. Marc was born with cerebral palsy and has made it his mission to serve with this, not as a disability or disadvantage, but as a positive extension to serving others who need this understanding the most. Marc's tremendous insight into medical and surgical procedures gave him the innate ability and insight for serving with compassion and empathy to clients with disabilities and ailments that require the detailed and specific knowledge that he holds. Marc began his career in human resources, health administration, and continued on to patient advocacy for seniors and those with disabilities. Marc's true inspiration in his journey began when his mom was diagnosed with glioblastoma, brain cancer. Enhancing the quality of a patient's healthcare and navigating the healthcare system with them has become a passion for him. Marc's ultimate mission is to provide good help and ensure good health in every single relationship he helps strengthen along the way. Welcome, Marc.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Sure, our pleasure. So today we're really talking about your life and talking about how it's been influenced, of course, by your mom and your mom's passing. And the topic is really giving back after a loss. So, Marc, why don't you talk a little bit about the relationship and everything that came for you to be at this point in your life?
Sure. Well, I'm from Long Island, New York, youngest of three. We grew up in North Woodmere, and I did my schooling in American University and at George Washington University, which was very hard for my mother because I was very far away from home, even though it was only a shuttle ride away. Went into human resources and healthcare administration, and came back to New York and been working ever since. A couple of years ago, I guess it was 2015, my mother was diagnosed with a brain tumor out of nowhere. Because what happened along the way, my father, when I was in college, had a heart attack. In 1999, he needed a kidney transplant. My mother gave him the first kidney.
Wow.
Better match than his sister and his mother at the time. Then he needed another one in 2011, but in 2015, so my mother wasn't feeling good. She went to the hospital. Turned out she had a brain tumor. Changed everything. She was there, not only for myself, my sisters, her husband, and grandchildren, extended family. And so when that happened, it hit very hard because she was the glue that kept us all together. And after nearly 50, they were married nearly 57 years, and she got me through nearly 20 surgical operations, including two hip osteotomies I had between middle school and high school, as well as a hefty leg lengthening procedure in college. She was there all along, in and out of jobs, with relationships. So she was there for everyone. So when she passed,
Your advocate,
very
it
hard.
sounds like. Right? She was your advocate.
Absolutely. Her and my father.
Mhm.
And what happened was when she passed away in April 2017, my father passed away 7 months later from an infection. So 2017 was not pleasant. But on the other side of that, there's progress. There's overcoming adversity, and there's finding things that your passion and getting involved. And one of those things was my synagogue, who were there for me when my mother died. We sat a week of Shiva, and I sat it in the city, so I wouldn't be alone here. And people came to the funeral. They came to make a visit. This was a week before Passover. So people were very busy, but they came, and that helped tremendously. Now they make sure I'm never alone on a Friday night or Saturday or any holiday.
Yeah, that's wonderful when you have a support system like that.
Absolutely. The other good thing I found, it took a while, was a great bereavement support group. I started at New Horizons Counseling Center, then I went to Catholic Charities, but I found a great one at the Friedberg JCC in Oceanside, led by Gloria LeBeau. And there was 5 of us, and we bonded. We're still in touch, even
Nice.
after a couple of years.
Nice. So that was 2 great examples of things that you can do, after an extreme loss like this.
Right. It's very shocking. It changes you, and you really have to find a new way of hope and way of doing things. Another thing I did, I looked on volunteer.org, and I found a program called Willing Hearts, Helpful Hands, led by Parker Jewish Institute for Healthcare and Rehabilitation, helping people with early onset dementia, helping out the caregiver, and spending time with the individual 1 time a week.
That's wonderful, Mark, because it really is, because
It
so
really
many
is.
people will just pull the covers over your head. And instead you said, no, I need to get out there and be proactive and make a difference.
Yeah, I should add to that, it took a while. It took a while to find everything that I'm mentioning.
Yeah, I was
It
going to
wasn't
ask
just
you the process
It wasn't like
because
this, but, and the other thing I'll mention, actually it happened with Betty White, but my people in my support group suggested also a pet. A pet can really help after a time of loss. I'm on my 2nd cat.
Yeah.
And it really takes away the loneliness.
Yeah, I would imagine so. And I don't think we ever really talked about that, Lisa,
No,
right?
we didn't.
So
We
that's
haven't
a
talked
really
about
great
pets.
tip too. Thank you.
Yeah. My friends in my support group, 2 of them had dogs. I was concerned about dogs. I had to walk them. I was concerned about the cold weather. I was alone here. So cats, not as demanding.
Yeah, they're more independent.
Except when they're hungry.
So talk a little bit more about the process of going from loss, especially someone who's such a big part of your life, to trying to make a new life, especially giving back like that, giving examples like you are. What is that process like?
It's at the beginning, and I can't lie, it's very overwhelming. It's very shocking. It's very depressed. All right. Fortunately, unfortunately, in the Jewish religion, you say a year of Kaddish. So every morning and every afternoon, even 3 times a day, I had to go to services. So that at least kept me going, get me out of the house and doing that. But you still miss telling her that I did it, that I led services, or I go back home, now what? You're going to service and people are there for you, but you trying to find something takes time, patience, and a little research on one's part. That's where Google comes in. And something someone said,
evenings were the harder part for you?
To this day, evenings after 10 o'clock and mornings until 9, 10 o'clock are extremely difficult every day of the week.
People used to tell me weekends were difficult because during the week they had maybe a job or they had some structure, but weekends there was no structure.
I have some structure on the weekend.
Okay.
Sundays are a little more difficult because that was usually a big family day. Sometimes I would go up to Connecticut where my parents lived before they moved to the city to be close to the Memorial Sloan Kettering. But Sundays can be difficult, especially Sunday evenings.
Mm-hmm. And what about family? What about the role of family?
That's important. I can't tell you. Not only missing my parents, but fortunately I have my sisters, one in the city and one in Great Neck. And some of my mother's extended family, a lot of cousins, and my father's cousins. We stay in touch. We try to anyway. It's difficult with Zoom and with phones. It's easier, but because not everyone's together. But we try as often as possible.
But they reached out to you and they checked in with you, and
yeah, okay, definitely. All 3 of us, not just me.
Not all family does that.
Correct. Yeah.
So, really important.
That was a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sounds like not only did you have a good support system, but you found even a wider circle of a support system for
Absolutely.
yourself.
Yes.
And that's one important thing. I mean, I'm sure you'd agree that you really have to be proactive in that. You have to say, no, if it's a support group here or volunteering here or getting myself out of the house now at dinner time because I don't want to be alone, and make it a point to do these things.
Especially if it's open, it's available, not always available. It took a while to find something,
Right.
particularly the support group, to a good support group that really became friends, and we're still in touch.
How long is it?
It's been, we ended, I guess it was 2019, January.
Mhm.
So it's been, almost 2 years that the group stopped, but we're in touch,
Wow.
even through COVID.
Wow.
But that was a really great group. And Gloria Lebow really found great articles and a way to get the emotions out and a way to move on, not forget. That's the other trick thing, is never to forget. It's very hard not to think about it, but you also have to move on in some fashion.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's really important. And even if, because I specialize in this legacy work, right? So even if it's not something that they did, your parents in their time or before they left, one of the books that I have on my site is to remember your parents even after they're gone, as a remembrance. And you can take memories and their stories, but in your memories and in your words, and put it together with photos, and to do special things honoring them and celebrating them, like that particular one little thing in a whole toolbox full of things that you could do. Right?
That's very good,
All
yes.
about the celebrating part.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. But what really is amazing for me, Mark, is the giving back part. I don't think that people realize the important role and what that does for you. For me, it was writing a book. Never written a book in my life. And yet I felt that pancreatic cancer was so devastating that I really wanted to write something and, started interviewing families. So for you to be giving like this is just tremendous.
Yes, and I have to say, I found one thing and it led to another. I found one support group at New Horizons and Catholic Charities, led to a better one at Friedberg JCC, where I'm still in touch with the people, which led to finding my passion as a patient advocate. Because Eileen Karina, who you've had on before, spoke, and the social worker told me to go there and hear the lecture.
Yeah, and one little step like that on your part will open a whole new door.
It opened such a door as an advocate, because it gave me passion, it gave me a reason for living, to assist others, not only seniors, but people with disabilities. I've worked with several nonprofits in group homes, helping people with activities of daily living, whether it's exercise, medication management, going to an apartment. So finding that passion.
And it doesn't take the place of, but I think it fulfills your heart in other ways.
It moves me forward.
Right.
Find meaning in your life.
Definitely. And filling the void. The important to fill the void, whether it's a pet, whether it's friends from one's congregation, temple, synagogue, or church, or groups, meetings, especially even during COVID, which was difficult enough not being with people. Very important to find the groups.
Do you also have friends, Mark, that
Yes,
okay,
I do.
that support you and there for you?
Yes, definitely. They check in, and when we hang out sometimes.
Yeah, but keeping busy, is key.
Absolutely.
I know it's been 7 years since my husband passed, and I know that that's a big thing that helped get me through, was the keeping busy part. And when I decided to change careers and become an end of life doula, now starting a business. So what's involved in that, Mark, and you as well, Lisa. It's just a whole circle of and then thinking about them, but celebrating them at the same time.
Definitely.
I
And
lost
servicing others, not being my
I
parents,
lost my
but if I could serve others.
yeah. I lost my job 2 years after my husband died, and it was really difficult because my job at least was some of my identity, And then you have to now find something else that, you can be passionate about. So trying to at least not only fill the void, but find meaning in your life like you did.
Yes.
Um,
And I'm still doing it. I'm still, it's a never-ending process.
Process.
Exactly. Especially when you've had a disability and you've been in and out of jobs since since I started, for whatever reason, for the economy, for just, position ended. It's definitely a challenge. You have to find yourself and adapt accordingly.
Now, with all the people that you've come in contact with, Mark, have you had other people that have gone through loss as well? And are you finding that you can help them, in some small way with maybe some of your tips, some of these things you're talking about today?
In some ways, yes. Whether it's someone whose parents has had a stroke and they're in the sandwich generation, so they're taking care of their kids, but they also have to be there for their parents. So I'm offering assistance, offering guidance if they need, and especially people with disabilities. I'm trying to help them get out of their home or apartment and integrate in the community. I'm trying to be there, for my friends and family.
Right. So I know you went into business for yourself. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. As I mentioned, social worker at the JCC told me about Eileen Karina's group called Patient Activation Through Community Conversation. And I went to that and took the her 2-day course in family-centered patient advocacy. And I just felt that this was my calling, my passion. Not only to be an advocate, but also to find something that I'm very much had experience with and could assist others in their own journey. It's finding a job has been difficult. I lost my full-time job in 2008 when the economy turned, and I had several commission-based jobs working for a medical alert company and a diabetic company. Then unfortunately in 2011, I had to go on disability for the economy. I could not get a job, a full-time job, but I did find something 2 years later as a consultant in compliance for a mental health clinic. I've been doing that ever since, but it's only part-time. And I feel I could do better. And plus with the passing of my parents, I feel I could definitely serve myself better. I have, particularly with my education and work background, working in the healthcare service industry, as well as the social service industry. I know I could do more with my experiences.
And I think, Mark, just as a person having disabilities, right, having a handicap, by you being able to help others with disabilities and with a handicap, that's huge.
Yes.
To me, that's huge. To me, they're getting such value from you versus from me.
Yep. You get it. You've been there.
I do one more thing. I forgot to mention, I tutor once a week for someone in a group home through AHRC called Citizens United. I help them with reading. Nice. So they could, there's a program called Anchor Program that has a drama program, and he wanted to learn to read better. So doing that once or twice a week helps him tremendously, and it makes me feel like I'm doing something worthwhile. And that's a big feeling. That's a big plus.
It's a great feeling. And, I had thought about this because I talked to somebody about this once. Do you drive a regular car, Mark?
Glad you brought that up. I drive a regular car with special adaptive equipment.
With special equipment in it, right?
I've been using Busani Mobility in Bethpage since 1986. And every 3 to 4 years when I change cars, I have to go there. They have to put on a left foot accelerator and a spinner knob so I could drive the car, use the wheel with the left hand on a knob. But it's things that people take for granted.
It is, and I think that there's a need for this, Mark. And I don't know, where your thinking is on it, but there's a need for somebody like you that can help train a person that's just gone into a wheelchair, say, right, and can't drive a regular car anymore, or needs the other kind of equipment in their homes just to live fully day to day.
Definitely. And every person is different. Every situation is different.
Yeah.
Even personal training. I started personal training about 2 years ago during COVID. And the changes I've made and the progress I've seen has helped others.
And we were talking about resources.
Right.
And it's really hard to find resources. Like, where do you start, you know?
It really is. You start with Google, you put it in, you don't find one thing, you have to find another, or you go through COVID, you go on enough Zoom meetings, you find people that that will reach out. For example, Roberta Rosenberg, who's the president of and founder of Destination Accessible. She asked me to be on the board member. It's an organization that provides firsthand information for people with mobility challenges, particularly with recreational and leisure activities. And once you have an incident occurs or you get that diagnosis, your life changes, and you have to learn to adapt, and you have to find the right resource. Fortunately, my parents found Busani Mobility, and my driver's ed teacher, who I'm still in touch with today, told me about equipment that I might need.
Yeah, and Roberta's tagline is to know before you go. And
Yes.
I love that. And her website is beautiful. I looked at it recently for something, and it gives you a lot of good tips on, where you can go, and is there going to be room for your wheelchair, or,
Right.
even
Parking,
walking,
getting into the door, bathroom
parking,
accessibility,
restrooms, right?
bathroom accessibility,
Yeah, she does.
hotels sometimes.
Oh, good. I'm glad you got involved with her, Mark.
Yeah, I'm very pleased about that as well.
We talk about quality life, no matter how long and no matter what situation. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about trying to make sure that people have the best life that they can have, the most fulfilled life. And of course, after loss, the same thing. Have a life that is meaningful, which you've demonstrated.
Definitely. And I have to give a big thanks to the Jewish community centers, both of the Five Towns and the Friedberg JCC of Oceanside. The Five Towns has a kosher food pantry.
Oh, wow.
For the areas, and I volunteered for them, and I did deliveries. And then through that JCC, I found the Oceanside JCC, had the support group, which led to meeting Eileen Karina, which led to finding my service as an advocate.
Nice.
Wonderful, Mark.
Right.
So you found many, many things from that period of time.
Definitely. As well as the assistant.
You put your hands here, you reached out, but you were being proactive, and that's wonderful.
It takes a lot of persistence. Unfortunately, you get very frustrated, but I have a smile on my face now, but you can get down on yourself.
Sure. The process has to be really challenging.
Challenging.
It's a journey. We all have a journey.
Yeah. One of my taglines, besides "Don't give up, don't ever give up," is "Success is a journey, not necessarily a destination."
That's right. That's right. It is. Yes, we talk about that all the time.
That's right. So I know, there was something else you mentioned to me, Lisa, you wanted to ask more.
We want to make sure about the resources, because people really do need to figure out.
Yeah, he's mentioned so many today.
There's a couple.
He has.
I'll say the personal leisure side, there's the Anchor program, which is in Lido Beach, Citizens for People via recreation activities. I know they have a camp as well. The Friedberg JCC has the Ezra Center for people with disabilities. The Goral JCC here in the Five Towns has the Long Island Friends Experiences, called the Life Program. In Queens, there's the Queens Center for Progress, which has vocational services and community support services. And then there's Long Island Center for Independent Living. And in Suffolk, I believe it's called Silo, the Suffolk Independent Living Association. And I have to mention also, when I mentioned the Destination Accessible, and for employment purposes, there's BOCES, which has job coach and job clubs, as well as the town of Hempstead. There's a job navigation program. They're in the town of Hempstead. So
Great.
a lot of resources, just have to go out and find it.
Let's mention you as a resource. I would like you to give us all your contact information now. Start out with your phone number, okay?
Yep. It's Marc Berlin. Phone number is 516-749-6135. My email is mark@onthemarkadvocate.com, all C's.
Okay. And your website?
Is onthemarkadvocate.com.
Great. And I'm sure we can find you on Facebook and also on LinkedIn.
Instagram, LinkedIn.
Okay, good. We can see what an amazing resource you are to people.
Thank you. And I really feel I want to be a resource. because it was difficult for me, being the third child, being the son with a disability, finding the resources for my parents. Unfortunately, one sister's a doctor, one's a lawyer, so they had a little more connections. But I think it's important to honor their memory and assist others in their own journey, so that they find the right referral doctor, the right specialist, the right medical supply, home health services. That's why I started a Facebook group several months ago, the Long Island, New York City referral group, so people can have access and ask questions in that forum.
Nice. Great.
That's wonderful. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. So people could just reach out to you if they just don't know where to go, what to do next, and you help guide and support them and navigate them.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
And every case is different, but it's a pleasure
Sure.
to serve.
Sure. Mark, you really are an inspiration to people
I thank you for that.
and everything that you've been
Yeah.
through in your life.
Thank you so
Definitely.
much
And
for
after.
joining us today, Mark.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank
Thank
you.
you. I want to talk about our resources as well. Both Susan and I have books that we have published. Mine are about pancreatic cancer. However, all the funds go to Les Carton Foundation, and they're about moving on with your life, and also about our families and what we've gone through. Susan, you too?
Yeah, a couple books as well. Coming Full Circle, 100 Tools, Tips, and Ideas to Bring in Your Life at the End of Life when you have a terminal diagnosis. And the other one is Remember Me, the Story of My Life. And I give you prompts and blank pages that bring you back to a memory in time where you can fill in all your information. Those are on my website, eastenddoulacare.com, and on Amazon. But more importantly, check out eastenddoulacare.com, because that's where I'm doing these special legacy books. And I have over 20 books with different reasons to do them. And they're really a beautiful, lovely thing to leave for your generations to come.
And
So
East
again-
End Academy also has
Oh,
our
East End
course,
Academy.
what does a dying person want? And of course, Susan has other courses as well. Both of us do individual work, individual counseling, and that's also an important thing. And we also do a celebration of life that we can offer people to structure how to really remember that person, and that is no longer, or even at the end of your life, and how to make something really special to be
when the
remembered.
person's still here, so they
That's
can
right.
see it at the end of life celebration, which is even a more beautiful thing.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So, Mark, thank you so much. We appreciate what you do, and also sharing your personal information.
Thank you for having me, and I appreciate the time.
Sure. You take care of yourself, and thanks again.
See you
Take
next
care.
time, Lisa. Thank you, Mark.
Take care.
You're quite welcome.
Okay. Bye.